Dhanyavad Pranam devotees. So today is most auspicious day. Oh, it's full in here. I just closed my eyes to do stop and stu. Come back. There's so many people in there. All right, so today is very auspicious day. It is Shri Narasingha Chaturasi. So Chaturdasi means the 14th day, and I think we're going towards the full moon. And Narasingadev, of course, is one of the most important avatars of Shri Krishna. We should know that any avatar has manifested from Shri Krishna. It is clearly mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Bhuteshu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatar Makaror Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramam Munyu Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So the source of all the incarnations headed by Lord Ram, right? They're all manifestations of Krishna. But in Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he's made clear that among the unlimited incarnations, 10 of which are prominent, on these unlimited incarnations, 3 are called Paravashta avatars. So the word para means in a superlative category. All the forms of God are God. But these 3 incarnations, Narasimha, Ramachandra, and Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna, they are paravast, means they're in the superlative category in the category of Godhood. So Narasimha Rama Krishneshu Sad Aishwarya Purana. So it means that among all the different incarnations who all have 6 opulences, it mentions here that they are Sad Aishwarya Purana. It means that they have these 6 opulences in the fullest degree. Because a person can have 6 opulences, meaning in the category of Godhood, can have 6 opulences. But the nature of how those opulences are manifested varies among incarnations. They all have 6 opulences. But how they manifest, that is always according to the nature of the avatar. So Narasimha, Ramachandra, and certainly Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna, that Sad Aishwarya is Purana. It is fully complete. And in the incarnation of Krishna, Jiva Goswami has mentioned that besides being Sad Aishwarya Purana, having those 6 opulences, he is called Asadharan. The word Asadharan means he's uncommon even among those 3. So he's uncommon among all the incarnations, but even Narasimha and Ram, he's uncommon. What makes Krishna uncommon? One, that he has 4 kinds of madhuri. His flute playing is called Venu Madhuri. The beauty of his form is called Rupa Madhuri. The extreme excellence of his intimate pastimes, meaning his Naravat Lila, means his human-like pastimes. So Lila and praying, the ability to love Krishna to the highest degree, like the gopis manifest, these are 4 qualities that no other incarnation has. Also, it is mentioned, Bhagavat Stavad, Aswarup Aishwarya Madhurya Tattva Visesh. Krishna, in his pastimes, he reconciles both being God and not God at the same time. For instance, when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill as a 7-year-old boy on the pinky of his left hand, would you think this is kind of God activity? Certainly. Who can lift a hill like Govardhan, even if you've gone to Govardhan to do parikrama, if you've gone to Vrindavan, you see how large Govardhan is, right? But at that time of Krishna, it was even larger because Govardhan shrinks by the size of 1 mustard seed each day. So it was much bigger then. But he lifted on the little finger of his left hand. So certainly anybody would have to acknowledge, yes, this must be Bhagwan. This is certainly God. But all Brijabasis who had come to take shelter under the hill of Govardhan, when Krishna made the pose of putting his right hand on his hip while he was holding the hill with his left hand on the pinky, that form, according to our Acharya's commentary, was so beautiful, they became captivated not so much by his lifting a hill at 7 years old, but by how beautiful his form was. So if you go to our Detroit temple, the ISKCON temple in Detroit, you'll see they have a deity of Giridhari, right, or Nataraj. Also in Jaipur, the famous deity of Nataraj is there. That's the deity where Krishna is standing like this with his fist on his hip. That's called Nataraj, that deity, or Giridhari. So that pose was so beautiful, the commentators say all Brijabasis were struck with wonder at the beauty of his form. So Rupa Madhuri, the beauty of his form was so enchanting, it eclipsed the fact that he's God and he was lifting a hill as a 7-year-old boy with the pinky of his left hand. So in this way, Krishna is superlative even in the category of God. But Narasingadev's avatar is also extremely important in understanding bhakti. Why? Because in the Leela of Narasingadev, perhaps the first glimpse of the depth and definition of what this prema or what this love is found in this Leela. Many devotees, they read Narasimha Prahlad Charit, it means the Leela of Narasimha and Prahlad, mostly as a upakyan. The word upakyan means like a moral teaching. So they're looking at the Leela that the two gatekeepers of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay, they came to this material world as demons. So the first question that has to enter anyone's mind in studying this Leela is how can you come from Vaikuntha as an intimate associate of Bhagavan and become a demon? So I'm just raising the questions first and then I'll answer them in the course of the Harikatha. So this is the first question. How can, if you're an intimate associate, sevak of Sri Krishna, Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, how can you then become a demon? Because then how would a demon be able to enter the spiritual world, even have the propensity to become a demon? How could you be in the spiritual world? Madhusudanji, let me go through the beginnings, then I'll come back to get your question. So that's the first question, right? And then it is also mentioned that the 4 Kumaras, who are great sages, the son of Brahma, the 4 Kumaras are 4 oldest children of Brahma. When Brahma was making the creation of the world, the first sons born to him were the 4 Kumaras. They're called the Manasaputra. Manasaputra means they're born from the mind or heart of Lord Brahma. These 4 boys personify 4 virtues. The virtue of knowledge or gyan, the virtue of austerity or tapasya, the virtue of yoga or the ability to realize truth through meditation, and the virtue of renunciation or vairagya, means becoming detached from the world. So gyan, vairagya, tapasya, and yoga are personified in these 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras, by the virtue of those qualities, austerity, vairagya means renunciation, yoga, by those virtues, they were realized souls, which means Haribo Vajendra Nandan Prabhu. Nandavad. So by virtue of those things, Gyan, Vairagya, Tapasya, and Yoga, they were situated in what's called Jivan Mukt, or being liberated souls, even though they had bodies. But what they had realized was called Brahmavad. In other words, they had not realized Krishna. They had realized the difference between the material energy and the spiritual energy, so they had realized Brahman. Later on, when Brahma was doing the creation, at that time, he wanted to create population in the world. This is one of the duties of Lord Brahma during the creation. So in order to carry that out, he produced various sons along with daughters, and he wanted that they would procreate. So at first, when the 4 Kumaras were asked to do this service, they told their father, no, because we realize that the material world is entangling, the material world is sourced by Maya. We will never do anything or activities within the material world. So then the father, Brahma, said, okay, I'm somewhat upset by this fact that you'll not do this. So then from the mind of Brahma came 11 Rudras. These 11 Rudras are considered to be partial manifestations of the energy of Lord Shiva. They are not Lord Shiva. The Rudras are actually Jiva souls, but they're endowed with a quality of Lord Shiva, which is anger. So immediately when these Rudras appeared, and the word Rudra in Sanskrit literally means crying, they appeared to go and do all kinds of devastation. Then Brahma finally got them under control. So they asked Brahma, listen, what do you want us to do? Brahma said, you go and you sit quietly someplace. Don't disturb anything. At the time when Lord Shiva was doing the devastation of the entire creation, you can be employed in that service. After that, when Brahma began to meditate again, it mentions that the best part of his meditation took place, and from his heart manifested Narad. Narada means Naravaram Dadati Iti Narada. That person who gives the best and highest thing to mankind is called Narada. What does he give to mankind? You look at the history of Narada Muni, he gives bhakti. Therefore, it's mentioned that Narada Muni is a personification of bhakti manifest from the heart of Narada Muni. Manifest from the heart of Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni, he has so many different identities in so many leelas of Krishna. In Krishna Leela, that same Narada Muni is Madhumangal, the intimate friend of Krishna. He also has one form as a gopi called Naradiya Gopi. He also, in Lord Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu's pastime, he is Srivas. Also in Vaikuntha, of course, he's Vaikuntha Narad, who travels everywhere, always singing the glories of Bhagavan. He has so many qualified disciples, including Prahlad, including Dhruva, including even Valmiki. So Narada Muni is considered the best of all the creations of Brahmas in terms of those souls manifested from Brahma in the creation. Of course, Narada is also Nitya Siddha. So it means he appears in the creation only as a pastime. All right. So now, before we go into describing the actual pastime of Lord Narasingadev, we should have some idea how this fits with the overall purpose for which we are practicing bhakti. Many times devotees hear pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, but they can't make a link between those pastimes and their own aspiration in the practice of bhakti. If you'll ask any devotee, what goal do you want to obtain in bhakti? If the devotee says, I just want to get free from suffering in the material world, then you didn't need to come to bhakti for that. You could have gone to yoga, Gyan yoga, any other, you can get free from suffering in the material world. Oh, I want to go to Vaikuntha and be with Lord Narayan. You could go to any sampradaya, not in the sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Sampradaya. You can go to Sri Sampradaya means those who worship Lakshmi Narayan. What is the worshipable deity that has been established in our line? Our Srila Prabhupada in every temple, when he first came to America, if he had established the deities of Lakshmi Narayan, would anybody have known any different? He could have established any deities he wants. What deities did Srila Prabhupada establish primarily? Anybody can give the answer.
Radha Krishna.
Radha Krishna. And then he established deities related to Radha Krishna, like Mahaprabhu Nityananda or Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. The rare occasions where Srila Prabhupada established the deity of Sita Ram was primarily because of the population of that place, like in Juhu and Bombay. Because there's so many people who support the temple who are Ram Bhaktas. But primarily he established in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the deities of Gaur Nitai or Krishna Balaram. Some temples were established, like in Vrindavan. But mostly in every temple, he established the deity of Radha and Krishna. So the object in our line of worship is Radha and Krishna, not Lakshmi Narayan. Some devotees became confused because Srila Prabhupada said that the worship of the deities in the temple should be performed according to the standards of the worship of Lakshmi Narayan. What did that mean? It meant that the punctuality, the cleanliness, the opulence of the worship should be like that of Lakshmi Narayan. But the mood of the worship, not like Lakshmi Narayan. You understand? So in this way, in order to understand all of the different teachings in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to understand the teleology, it's called, the purpose for what Srimad Bhagavatam was written particularly, and why in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu it is so important. So first of all, we have to go to the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, because that will give us the outline. Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses, 335 chapters, over 100 pastimes are told here. In order to link these together with the purpose for which we are practicing, which is the goal of obtaining service to Radha and Krishna, we have to be clear how every single part of Bhagavatam is linked to that purpose. So the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam mentions Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here, Vyasadeva, who's the author, who realized Srimad Bhagavatam only after speaking to Narad, because remember, prior to Narada Muni meeting with Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva had compiled all the Vedas, meaning separated them into different divisions of 4. Then he wrote all Purans, then history like Mahabharata, and then so many Upanishads, etc., etc. But he had not written clearly, because you could read this in the first canto, he had not written clearly what was the position of Radha and Krishna and the nature of service to Radha and Krishna. So now when he met Narada Muni, and Narada Muni analyzed this was a deficiency in the activities of Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva said, what should I do? So Narada Muni gave him a method. Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pratihile Amale. You should perform Manasik Seva of Radha and Krishna. This Manasik Seva is also called Rag Anuga Bhakti. You understand? This is the hallmark quality of Rag Anuga Bhakti. It is called Manasik Seva. It means by creating a relationship internally with the goal of your worship, in this case, Radha Krishna, and then always meditating both in external activity and internal activity on service in that mood. This is called Rag Anuga. Right? The eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda, Maharaj Nanda, Subal, Sridham, the gopis headed by Radhika. This mood called Rag is in their very nature. So they are called Rag Atmik. It means this mood is in their very nature. When we want to follow the way that they serve Krishna, it is called Rag Anuga. Anuga means to follow. Anugamana literally means to follow. There's also deep explanation. I'm not going into it here, but it means following that mood. So Vyasadeva did that. And when Vyasadeva did that, Samyak Pratile Amale Apashat Purusham Puranam, he saw the complete picture of how to understand the position of Radha and Krishna in relation to all the other avatars, in relation to all the other Leelas of Bhagavan, how specifically this form of Radha and Krishna is the sonam bonum of worship completely. Apashat Purusham Puranam. It also means he saw the sequel to Krishna's Leela, which is Gaur Leela. So he saw all of that. And then he said, Mayayam Upasritam. He also saw the most elevated Leela of Krishna. Of all of Krishna's pastimes, what is the most superior Leela? It's not a mundane superiority. It means among all the pastimes, that Leela which gives the fullest realm of happiness to Krishna. What is that pastime called?
Ras
Leela.
Yes, this word Ras with a long A. The word Rasa with the short A means the ingredients of Rasa. But Ras with a long A means how to taste or relish the Ras Leela. So Rasanam Samuha Iti Rasa. So the meaning of this word Ras is how Krishna is relishing the Ras Leela. Why? Because all of the moods of every Ras are present in the Ras Leela. So this is the most superior pastime of Krishna. Is called this Ras Leela. That Ras Leela is also the most superior pastime because in that Ras Leela, what is established is the supremacy of the love of Radhika for Krishna. Therefore, when Vyasadeva wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, he first says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudev means the son of Vasudeva or Krishna. So he's telling, I'm addressing Krishna by this statement. Then he says, Janmadhyasya yata anvyat itarachasta artishu abhigyaswara. He says, Janma Adi Ros. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other commentators have said that this first verse means Janma Adi Ros. The word Adi Ros means the love between Radha and Krishna. So Vyasadeva is then saying the meaning of everything in the creation. Cha'arteshu means what is the purpose? What is the creation for? To understand and serve the love of Radha and Krishna. This is the entire purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Should I repeat that again? Was any question about that? My wife is saying one more time. Vyasadeva, after having realization by meditation under the instruction of Narad, he realized that the ultimate goal of life, the purpose of everything in the creation and beyond the creation, which means the spiritual realm, is only the service of the highest form of happiness for Krishna, which is called Ras. And the personification of that Ras is Srimati Radharani. So Janmadhyasya Yataha means that from which everything is coming is not just Krishna's Mahavishnu. Because does Mahavishnu have a cause? I'm asking. Yes. Who's the cause of Mahavishnu?
Krishna.
Krishna. Does Krishna have a cause?
No.
No. So the verse says, Cha'arteshu abhigya swarat, means Krishna swarat means there's no cause for Krishna. He's the origin. And the highest form of happiness for him is Janma, the development, the appearance of Adi Rasa, which means the love that Radhika has for him. So why am I telling this on the Shringa Chaturdasi? Because you have to understand that this pastime of the Shringa Dev is a narration to point out the importance of that first statement. Bhagavatam is not a bunch of separate different stories randomly put together. It is a theme. It's one thing being told. Let me give you an example. If I'm explaining to someone about the building of my home, and you walk in on the middle of the conversation and you hear us talking about acquiring the supplies for the building. Now, you don't know the whole picture unless you go back and catch the beginning of the conversation. Because I could be acquiring building materials for building someone else's home. I may be acquiring them to sell. So the only way you can have perspective on why I would be buying these materials is to be acquainted with the original purpose that I stated for which I was doing it. Does everybody get that idea? If you come in the middle of a conversation, I'm talking about building my home, but you only come in at the point where I'm telling the person, oh yeah, and then I went to the store and I bought all these materials. If you didn't catch the first part, that I was doing this to build my home, you could assume I'm buying materials to sell them. I'm buying materials to build someone else's home. You understand? So the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is setting the stage for what is the purpose of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, which would mean that the description of this pastime and every other pastime in Bhagavatam is to establish the reality, truth, and to imbibe in us the mood of serving this original Adi Ras between Radha and Krishna. Sometimes difficulty comes because devotees are unable to make a synthesis or link between the purpose of Bhagavatam and all the different descriptions in Bhagavatam. So they have everything as kind of separate. You understand? So this first verse establishes this is the purpose. Not only that, but the second verse of Bhagavatam says there actually is no other purpose, right? Dharma projita kaitavotra parmano nimatsaranam satam. It's saying here, don't think that there's any other dharma or any other purpose which is in this Bhagavatam than what I stated in the very first verse. Janmadhyasya yata. To understand and serve the love of Radha and Krishna, in the Bhagavatam, any other consideration, pra-ujita, has been removed. Everybody following this? If not, just you can unmute and ask the question. He's saying that there is no other purpose. The only purpose is this love of Radha and Krishna. That means every pastime, every teaching in Bhagavatam, it's all about that ultimately. Okay, so we're clear on that. Right? Then it's saying, Paramano Nimatsaranam Satam. The only person who's going to be able to understand that is a person who's not reading Bhagavatam with self-interest. That means you don't have any interest in material wealth. You don't have any interest in liberation, meaning just getting free from the material world. You have no interest in just obtaining Vaikuntha as a means of your own salvation. It means the person who will understand this teaching in Bhagavatam and will see it throughout the pastimes of Bhagavatam is near Matsaranam. Near Matsarya means, Matsarya in Sanskrit means envy, but here it means self-interest. The person who has no self-interest, but only interest in the service of Krishna can understand the link of all of these things in Bhagavatam. Is it clear? Yes? Only a person who has no self-interest, right? Now, we're in process. We are learning, we're developing. It doesn't mean that. It means a person whose goal is something other than pure bhakti. And what is the definition of pure bhakti? I'm going to open and give a person a chance to describe, not in detail. And my wife, she's cheating, but I'm not going to allow her to get it. Anybody?
Anabhidasa Sunya Ganu Comedy Anavritam.
Yes. Anya abhilasita sunya. So anya abhilas means not having any other interest or desire except anukulyena Krishna anu silanam. The desire to do everything to please Krishna. This is the very definition of pure bhakti. So Bhagavatam has established Dhamma Prajita Kaitavatra. Anything else would be cheating. The word Kaitava in Sanskrit means cheating. It would be cheating our purpose of Bhagavatam to allow any other conception to be there than the service of Janma Adiras, the service of the love between Radha and Krishna. So there's so much information in Bhagavatam, and certainly as a byproduct, many people may benefit even if they have not grasped the essential purpose of Bhagavatam. I'm giving an example. If I want to cook a meal and I go and I make a fire to cook on, when you make the fire, this is the example Jiva Goswami has given, when you make the fire, will naturally there be heat and light in that room where the fire is? Naturally. But the purpose of the fire was for cooking the meal. In the same way, people who associate with Srimad Bhagavatam will get benefits from it. Even if they have not grasped the original purpose, they will get some benefit. Just like heat and light will come from the fire, and though the intention was cooking, it will also provide that byproduct. You understand? But as the practicing devotees, we have to be geared towards the essential purpose. Cha'arteshu, abhigya, we have to become conscious. The word abhigya means cognizant or conscious of the Janma Adi Ras in relation to the word Swarat here means Krishna, who has no other source than himself. So this is the first verse of Bhagavatam, and the reason I'm telling this is because it's from this perspective that the Leela of Lord Narasingadev will be seen. If you take the Leela of Lord Narasingadev separately, you'll get many misconceptions according to Bhakti. There may not be misconceptions in the ordinary world of Dharma, but there will be misconceptions in the world of Bhakti, pure Bhakti. So now the Leela itself. So there are two simultaneous things happening. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord has gatekeepers on every side of the Vaikuntha. So there are 8 in principle. Bhadra Subhadra, Chanda Prachana, Datvidatra, Jai, and Vijay. So there are 8 different doorkeepers. On the western gate, the most favorite of all those doorkeepers are Jai and Vijay. In so many different ways, Jai and Vijay also serve Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. they not only have a manifestation that guards the entrance into Vaikuntha, but they are also, by expansion, guardians of the Antapur. Antapur means the inner chamber where Bhagavan himself takes rest and does everything.
Amazon customer service.
Mhm.
First by
So-
then by asking you a few.
Okay, I don't know what that is. All right, so they also guard the Antapur, the inner place where Lord Narayan takes his rest and everything else. So these two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, they're always doing Harikatha. That's why there's two gatekeepers on every gate. These gatekeepers never need to eat, to sleep, or to do anything. How are their lives maintained? Only by Harikatha. Of course, they take the prasad of Bhagavan, but it's mentioned in Shastra that they subsist on Harikatha. So Jai and Vijay, they used to often discuss the glories of Lord Narayan. And among discussing those glories, they described, oh, our Prabhu, Lord Narayan, is the most powerful person in the entire creation. But how have we seen? What is our darshan of that power? We know he's the most powerful person. But in the Vaikuntha, there is no Leela. There is no Leela like fighting. Vaikuntha means no anxiety. Nobody's even anxious there. What to speak of arguing, fighting, anxiety. So they were thinking, we've never seen the prowess of Lord Narayan on display. At the same time they were speaking like this, Sri Narayan himself was meditating. Oh, it would be very wonderful. In so many of my other Leelas, I've tasted the mood of called Vira Rasa. This is one of the 7 secondary kinds of rasa. There are 5 primary rasas, like Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Then there are secondary rasas, like Hasya, Adbhuta, Vira, which I'm talking about now, Karuna, Bibats, Karun, and Rodra, or anger. So there are 7 secondary rasas also. So Lord Narayan was thinking, this Veer rasa is very tasteful. The chance to sport and to display my prowess is also very, very tasteful. But in this Vaikuntha, there's no opportunity to do that. So I want the facility to do an avatar in which I can taste this Veer rasa. So the Lord's desire or the Lord's Icha is the genesis of everything. Whatever Krishna desires or Bhagavan desires, that will come to pass. At the same time, those 4 Kumaras, they were absorbed in Brahman and tasting the bliss of Brahman. At that time, they also had the darshan or saw the sight of their younger brother, Narada Muni. When they saw Narada Muni, they saw how much bliss he had, and they thought, how is it that Narada Muni, our younger brother, the quality of his ananda, his bliss, is so much higher even than ours? So they thought we should go and we should ask to our Father. He's created all of us. We should ask, how is it that Narada Muni has such a high class of bliss that even we're not experiencing, even though we are liberated persons? Because they had Brahmavad, they were liberated. So when they went to speak to their father, Lord Brahma, at that time, Brahma told, oh, listen, the bliss that your younger brother is experiencing is due to his continuous absorption in the lotus feet of Sri Narayan. So the 4 Kumaras inquired, oh, Father, you tell us about this Lord Narayan. At that time, Lord Brahma spoke the Harikatha of the glories of Vaikuntha and Sri Vaikuntapati Narayan. Vaikuntapati means the leader or lord of Vaikuntha. He described his beauty. He described the atmosphere of Vrindavan. He described the beauty of the associates of the Lord. He described the sweetness of the Lord's disposition or Bhaktavatsalya towards all of his devotees there. He described so many qualities about the form, activities, leelas, everything of Lord Narayan. When the 4 Kumaras heard that, even though they were in Brahmavad, a taste in their heart arose to have the darshan of Lord Narayan. So here is very special thing to consider. Though they were in Brahmavad, it means they were liberated from the material world and they were experiencing the spiritual energy, not the personification of it, just the spiritual energy. A taste arose in them to experience a bliss that was greater than the bliss of just experiencing material energy. Now, when they began to meditate, because they were very powerful, then what they heard from Lord Brahma appeared in their heart. So the first darshan they had of Lord Narayan was the feature of the antaryami, means the super soul in their own heart. You understand? So when they were meditating, they saw the super soul. From that, their desire increased to see the actual form of Narayan outside of their heart. In this way, because their father had told them that Narayan lives in Vaikuntha, they immediately made their way to Vaikuntha. When they were going to Vaikuntha, the description that's given in Sastra Vaikuntha is that on all sides, there are 7 gates leading into the actual Vaikuntha. In those places where those 6 gates are, the atmosphere of Vaikuntha is still present. So it mentions that the 4 Kumaras very easily move beyond those 6 gates where all of the external activities of Vaikuntha were going on. So now the question should come in your mind, wait a minute, Mukunda, what is the meaning of the external activities of Vaikuntha? There are those souls who do upasana, it means worship, or they practice sadhana, some kind of practice, in order to get liberation called Sailokya. Sailokya. Sailokya means to live in the Vaikuntha atmosphere. They don't have the direct desire for service to Lord Narayan. They have a desire to go to Vaikuntha. It is called Shukya Aishwarya Mukti. Rupa Goswami has explained this in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shukya Aishwarya Mukti. The desire to be liberated, but not just in the Brahman, but to experience the atmosphere of Vaikuntha. So when the 4 Kumaras were entering into the Vaikuntha, they saw these people in their airplanes. They had bodies like the body of Lord Narayan. That is called Sarupya. So he saw all of these liberated souls. But they realized from hearing Harikatha from Brahma, their interest was not just in the atmosphere of Vaikuntha, but in the actual darshan of the Lord of Vaikuntha, Sri Narayan. Does everybody understand the difference? You can do a practice to obtain liberation in Vaikuntha, just like you can do a practice to obtain Brahmavad, or Brahman. There are people who practice, I want to go to Vaikuntha. It's called Salokya Mukti. I want to have a form like the form of Narayan. It's called Swarupya Mukti. So Arsti, I want to have the same kind of opulences as Lord Narayan. So all of this takes place in the atmosphere of Vaikuntha. Another one is called Samipya. Samipya means to be in close proximity to the Lord. But for those who want to serve the Lord, this is called Seva Vritti or Dasya Seva Vritti. That's when you can enter into the actual abode of Vaikuntha and actually render service to Narayan. Does everybody understand the difference? Because when you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto, chapter 15, the description of Vaikuntha is there. And it describes the 4 Kumaras pass through the 6 gates leading to the entrance to Vaikuntha. So if all of this is Vaikuntha, how would they have arrived at the 7th gate, which is the entrance to Vaikuntha? It means that's the entrance into Dasya Seva, or the internal part of Vaikuntha, where a person has Dasya Ras towards Lord Narayan. Everybody clear on that? If it's not clear, just raise your hand and we can discuss. Very good.
No. I'm sorry. I meant
Go
to
ahead.
raise my hand. Please repeat again where we can find that, Mukunda Prabhu. And it's not clear to me. I would you repeat it again?
I will repeat it just
Thank
for you.
Thank you. No, and I have to say, Prabhu, something came to me yesterday by my daughter's vision, and it's in the picture. It's carving of Jai Vijay.
Oh, very nice. So we will look. So the explanation is in the
Abuji,
third
I
canto.
actually had a question that might supplement what she's talking about.
Okay,
It's
go ahead.
it's just to kind of do it chronological. So you were saying that when he saw, was it Lord Narayan in his heart that you were saying at first, and then he went to
Yeah, they first had Darshana Super Soul.
the super soul, and then you said that again, going in with what you're talking about, the external and internal. You said you saw it internally, and then he wanted to go reach out for it externally. And
No,
so, is there
yeah, yeah,
any
that
connection there to
internal
what
was,
Matsuda was just asking about?
yeah. So that internal, external here meant before Kumaras in their meditation, they saw the super soul in the heart, which is one form of Lord Narayan. Then they desired, oh, let me see the manifestation of this very form before my eyes. You understand? So in this way, they said, let us go to the Vaikuntha planet, where beyond our meditation, we'll see the actual form, not just the super soul, but the actual original form of the super soul in the persona of Sri Narayan. The third canto, which is I'm giving now for Amitravinda Didi, where this is spoken is in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 15th chapter. It gives a description of the four Kumaras, their conversation with Brahma, and they're traveling through the first 6 gates. And it describes there the atmosphere of Vaikuntha. So now when you read carefully, it mentions they arrived at the 7th gate. So heretofore, in the previous 6 gates, they had not yet had darshan of Narayan as they desired. Which means that part of Vaikuntha is a place where you can get 4 kinds of liberation. One is called Swarupya, Sarupya. It means to have a form like Narayan, because it describes there, they saw all of the inhabitants in airplanes, they're called Vimans, and they all had 4 arms and bluish color, etc. Also, Salokya, they're living, for lack of a better word, in the outskirts of the city of Vaikuntha, so to speak. I don't want to misconstrue that. So it's like, if you say you live in a particular town, there are neighborhoods which are connected to that town, which are the residential neighborhoods. Are they also considered that same city? Yes. Like if you live in Ohio, there's so many different cities in Ohio, but they're all part of Ohio. Understand? So in the same way, all that they were seeing was also part of Vaikuntha, but there's an inner part of Vaikuntha in which only if you are involved in service to Lord Narayan in Dasyarasa, you understand? In Dasyarasa, can you enter that place? If you just want liberation, you can exist in the atmosphere of Vaikuntha. You have a form like Narayan, you will have the atmosphere of Vaikuntha, which is full of opulence and beauty. You'll be in proximity to Narayan, and you'll have the kind of opulences of Narayan. Those are the 4 kinds of mukti: Salokya, Sarupya, Sarsti, and Samipya. But the 4 Kumars did not want that. So it mentions they easily passed through those 6 gates. Why is the term easily put here? Because for most people, if they're just going through Vaikuntha and you see the beauty and opulence and the atmosphere, most people will get caught up. Whoa, this itself is so beautiful. You understand? But the 4 Kumaras, because they heard Harikatha from Brahma, that Harikatha penetrated to the deepest core of their heart and gave them the desire for the actual darshan of Narayan, not just to be free in Vaikuntha. But now when they arrived at the 7th gate, there they saw the 2 gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay. Does anybody know why they are named Jai and Vijay? Because there are 2 things that are needed to enter into the spiritual domain. One is Jai. It means the kripa or mercy of Bhagavan to have conquered over lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, etc. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, these 6 things. Without the mercy, Jai, which is why we say, Jai, Shri Radha Krishna ki Jai. You understand? So without that mercy of conquering those things, one cannot transcend even the material plane. What to speak of entering Vaikuntha. But now it says Vijay. In Sanskrit, The word V has different kinds of meanings. It can be negation, but in this case, it means vaishishya or speciality, something more, something special. To enter into the service of the Lord, one has to develop sambandha of dasya with Bhagavan. So to enter into Vaikuntha proper, not only because the four Kumaras, were they free from lust, anger, greed, illusion, etc.? Yes. But why were they blocked by Jai and Vijay? Because the Visay Sambandha Gyan of being Das to Narayan was not manifest in the four Kumaras at that time. Should I repeat it again? They were stopped at the gate by Jai and Vijay. Jai means victory. Victory over what? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Means lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy. So to be transcendent to those 6 things is Jai. That's the mercy of Bhagavan for any practitioner in any path to become liberated from the modes of nature and those 6 things. To enter into actual service to the Lord is a speciality beyond just being liberated from lust, anger, greed, illusion, etc. It is a special thing. To perform bhakti to Radha and Krishna doesn't mean simply becoming free from Maya. Are Mayavadis free from Maya? Are Brahmavadis? Yes, Mayavadis are. They're actually free from the material modes of nature. They just don't understand the personality of Bhagavan. But they know they're not the body, and therefore they experience Atma Ananda, the happiness of the soul, because in the soul there's no misery. But, what is this verse? Their liberation is incomplete, vimukti monina, because they don't understand the lotus feet of service to Bhagavan. So now the 4 Kumaras were at the 7th gate to enter Vaikuntha. What is the special quality to enter Vaikuntha to associate with Lord Narayan directly? Service, seva vritti. I am his das, and I want to serve him. That mood had not developed yet in the 4 Kumaras. It's clearly written in Srimad Bhagavatam. They were in Brahmavad. On the basis of the Harikatha, they became stimulated with a desire to have darshan of Narayan, but it doesn't mention anywhere their desire for service to Lord Narayan. That won't happen until actually after they get the darshan. So now, Jai and Vijay having blocked them, the 4 Kumaras became angry. Now the 4 Kumaras later on in the 16th chapter, 3rd canto, they themselves will become confused. Why do we become angry? We have control over our senses and our mind. How is it that we became angry? But when they did become angry, they said, oh, perhaps these 2 gatekeepers are actually imposters. We've heard in the Sastra that there are those who try to imitate being servants of God. Perhaps these 2 are like that. So we will actually arrange that they don't have to be here as imposters, but we will curse them to go to the material world. So at that time, the 4 Kumaras pronounced their curse. Oh, imposters, because of your attitude, which is in discord to the very nature of this Vaikuntha. Because Vaikuntha means a place where nobody has anxiety, nobody's stressed out, nobody's angry at anybody else, but yet we find this activity. In the material world, we always find these things. So you too should go to the material world. Immediately at that time, upon the pronouncement of the curse, the 2 gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, though being even more powerful due to their service status with Lord Narayan, didn't counteract the curse. They didn't even attempt to. They honored the curse being given to them by the 4 Kumaras and only pleaded, oh, great Brahmins. Because you're going to see from here on out that actually the address that's given both by Jai and Vijay and by Lord Narayan to them as Brahmins, great Brahmins. And this is very important. Ram, quick question.
Yes, but Jai and Vijay was still not inside, but they were at the gate, like on the border. Is that
One
significant in any
expansion.
way?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, one expansion always stays at that gate, but there's another expansion that serves in the Antapur. It means the inside of Vaikuntha. This will come up later on in the Katha. So now Jai and Vijay, they were in bewilderment, will have to go to the material world. At that time, the Lord said, okay, now it is time for me to manifest there. The Lord told Lakshmi Devi to also come with them. They both, according to the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami, got on the back of Garuda. So while the contemplation was going on between Jai and Vijay and the four Kumaras, suddenly they heard the sounds of Vedic hymns. Where was that sound coming from? The flapping of the wings of Garuda. As Garuda would flap his wings, it produced the sounds of Vedic mantras. So they all became captivated by the beauty of that sound. As he came closer, then they saw the Lord himself and Lakshmi Devi seated on the back of Garuda. The four Kumaras immediately offered their prostrated obeisances. Jai and Vijay also offered their namaskar. Immediately then, Garuda came down, and the Lord, doing something he does not usually do, he got off of the back of Garuda with Lakshmi Devi and walked towards the four Kumaras. Arriving before the four Kumaras, the breeze that comes from Vaikuntha passed over the Lord's lotus feet, which were covered by Tulasi. When the breeze passed over the feet of the Lord, the aroma of the Tulsi came from those feet and went into the nostrils of the four Kumaras. So now, first they had the physical darshan that they prayed for. Now they had the secondary experience of the direct aroma coming from the mixture of the Lord's own body and Tulsi entering their nostrils. At that time, the Asta Satvik Vikar, it means the symptoms of ecstasy, took place in the four Kumaras. These symptoms of ecstasy had never been experienced by them in their Brahmavad. The Ananda of Brahman never could produce ecstasy like this. So now the four Kumaras, for lack of a better word, are transcendentally intoxicated. Now the Lord is going to start speaking to them. So they've seen the darshan of the form of the Lord. They smelt the tulasi coming from the feet of the Lord. And now their ears are catching the sound coming from the lotus mouth of the Lord. The Lord begins to tell them, listen, these two servants of mine, the word that's used in the Sanskrit here is may, mine. They have offended you, Brahmins. The Brahmins are so dear to me that I myself take my meals through the mouths of the Brahmins more so than the sacrificial fire. Because you know when you do a homa, a fire sacrifice, and you say swaha, swaha means the wife of Agni Dev. The oblations are offered into the fire. They're carried by Agni to Swaha, and Swaha offers them to the lotus feet of the Lord. You understand this? Should I repeat this again? When you do a fire sacrifice and you say Swaha, Swaha is the name of the wife of Agni Dev, the fire itself. So when you put oblations into the fire, Agni Dev passes those to his wife, Swaha. Swaha then offers them to the Lord himself. Understand? So he was saying, but even that fire sacrifice through which I take my meals is not as prominent as when somebody feeds a Brahmin and the Brahmin becomes satisfied. I become more satisfied by the eating of that Brahmin. So now the Lord is glorifying the four Kumaras. You're so high quality in my estimation that even I feel like my sustenance, my meal is coming more so from the eating of the Brahmins than even through the many fire sacrifices that are done. But one key word is in this verse essential to understand our purpose. When he spoke about Jai and Vijay, he said, may, mine. You understand? In any kind of loving affair, if you have very high respect for somebody, but you have your own family member. Where is the majority of your love and affection? In that person you may have great respect for. For instance, you may be the associate in a company, and everybody may like the boss, they have respect for the boss. So they have a party and everybody's glorifying, yes, you've done wonderful with this company, you've done amazing things with this company. So let me introduce you to my family. You understand? So when you meet the boss, you say, this is my wife. In other words, the indication of the word my is a stronger indication of feeling towards that person than the person like your boss. Does everybody get this? In other words, if you're introducing your wife to your boss, where's the predominance of your affection? Toward your boss or toward your wife? And every husband here better say the right word. It's Mother's Day on top of that. So don't get it twisted, right? Don't make a mistake, right? Okay, my wife is sitting over here. Definitely not making any mistakes. So, but in all seriousness, saying my wife, my daughter, my husband, this mamata, it's called in Sanskrit, is the symptom of the love you have for that person. So by Bhagavan saying, may, these doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, may. Oh, there's your sister? Okay. May. Huh? Haribo. May. These are mine. So what does that say to the four Kumaras? I have great respect for Brahmins. I have love and affection for Brahmins, but not like these two gatekeepers. You understand? This is the first expressions of love. You understand? That's why Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also even Gadadhar Pandit, who's Radharani herself, in Gaur Leela, when they used to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was at Radha Kund for a festival, and he was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam. Did he speak on the 10th canto Ras Leela? He spoke on Narasingadev Prahlad Charit. Gadadhar Pandit used to give Srimad Bhagavatam in the temple of Tota Gopinath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his associates would come to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Gadadhar Pandit. Very deep mystery to that, because Gadadhar Pandit is Radhika herself. So Radhika herself in Gaur Leela is telling what is her love. You understand? This is a whole nother subject matter. But what did Gadadhar Pandit speak on? Not Ras Leela. He spoke on Narasingadev Prahlad Charit. Why? Because it's in this Leela that all these symptoms of the definition of love are starting to be given. It's already given in the first verse. But in this Narasingadev Prahlad Charit, he's describing, may, these my doorkeepers are fully imbued with love for me and me for them. You Brahmins who are highly respected, you're not superior to them. So then the Lord went on to continue glorifying the Brahmins, but he told the four Kumaras, I take it that the offense which you've perceived from these two gorekeepers of mine, I consider it to be my own offense. Again, listen carefully. He's saying that actually the offense that you feel was committed by these doorkeepers, I take it that I am the offender. If any family member, any person that you love very dearly, something happens, are you always willing to step in the gap for that family member? Well, let me be in ideal circumstances, right? You're saying, no. Something happened and somebody's blaming a fault to someone, then you'll say, okay, I'll take the burden for this. How much do they owe you? What's the responsibility for it? You understand what I'm saying? For that person that you love, you're willing to step in and do the needful for that person. So the Lord is saying here, I'm taking it that the offense committed by Jai and Vijay is my offense. Then he says, if something of the body offends you, then you cut it off. So he's telling to the four Kumaras, I would be willing to cut off even my own arm to give to you because of the offense of these two. You understand? He's expressing so much love for Jai and Vijay. You understand? This is going to be very important as the Leela goes on. So now, after this, the four Kumaras give the expression. This is in the 16th chapter. They give the expression, we could not even fully understand the depth of what conversation the Lord was having because of their ecstatic symptoms, but also because the Lord's speech was so profound. And the four Kumaras are not ignorant persons. So they could understand that the Lord, while he's simultaneously glorifying us, calling us Brahmins, the highest class, all these things, he somehow or another simultaneously saying, these two gatekeepers are even superior. They are my own, like my own body. I love them so much, I would take my own arm off for them. How much love he's expressing for Jai and Vijay. You understand? Then, very important verses are going to come now. So now the Lord tells, listen, I'm quoting first verses from the Krishna Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. He tells there, Jaya Vijaya Sanaka Adi Sa Vyajema. So Jai Vijay means Jai and Vijay. Sanaka Adi means the four Kumaras. Sap in Sanskrit means a curse. The word sap means a curse. Vyajema means a pretense. So now he says, this curse was a pretense. In other words, the curse of the four Kumaras has no ability to actually affect Jai and Vijay. So what was it a pretense for? He says there, Jai Vijay Sanakari Sap Vyajema Uttarakhande. So then he quotes, Jiva Goswami does, from the Uttarakhand of Padma Puran. Uttarakhande Vira Rasa Swabhakta Vinodaya. It was a pretense to allow me to taste that thing I talked about earlier, Vira Ras, or the Ras of chivalry, Swabhakta, with my own devotees. So then he's going to tell in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 16th chapter, Sri Bhagavanu Vacha, Tau. In Sanskrit, whenever something is applied to two people, the suffix on the word will be au, au. That means it's in the dual case. So he's saying, Etau Sutaraya Gatim Pratipadya Sadhya. This is important. Samrama, Sambritya, Samadhi, Anubhadi, Yogao. So Yogao here means the two of you. Even though the two doorkeepers, Sura Itara, they will have to enter into a demoniac state, right? Gati means the womb, meaning the womb of Diti, right? Because I didn't go to that backstory, but they'll enter into the womb of Diti in a demoniac state. But Samrama, Sambritya, Samadhi, Anubhada, Yoga. You will always be united with me in Bhakti Yoga. All right, so now first of all, take a deep breath. Jai and Vijay have been already told they're going to enter the womb of Diti, who is the mother of all the demons. But Krishna's telling, you will never be separated from me. You will be absorbed in anger. Your anger towards me will be Bhakti Yoga. This is where this gets deep. Because now you have to understand that the activities of Jai and Vijay as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Ravana and Kumbhakarna, Sishupal and Dantavakra were all manifestations of Bhakti. This is where ordinary reading of Bhagavatam, not being under the anugatya of anyone in the line of Mahaprabhu and being aligned with the first verse of Bhagavatam, will be missed. Because you will think Jai and Vijay became demons. But how can you, if you're the intimate servant of Lord Narayan, become a demon? You understand the question? How will you become a demon if you're already an eternal associate of Lord Narayan? So Krishna's telling ahead of time that, listen, they were never demons. Samrama, Sambritya, Samadhi. They were in Samadhi. They were in the absorption in order to act opposed to me so that I could taste the mood of fighting. Because Krishna can only taste rasa when he's with his devotees. I'm giving the example that's given by our acharyas. When Krishna went to the wrestling arena in Mathura, and he fought with the wrestlers which were arranged by Kamsa, Charana, Mustika, Toshal, and other wrestlers. Did Krishna enjoy rasa with them? No. It describes he was smiling, but the acharyas say this was due to his own atmaramata, his own self-happiness. Because Charan and Mustika, Toshal, and the other wrestlers, they did not have bhakti towards Krishna. And rasa can only be exchanged when there's bhakti. Rasa is a product of bhakti. That's why it's called bhakti ras. So it can't happen with non-devotees. So essentially, Jai and Vijay were given the positions as devotees to allow the Lord to taste the fighting mood, because the rasa can't come from anyone except devotees. So that was the statement of Jiva Goswami and the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. They were in samadhi, anubhada. The word anu means continuously. So they were never disconnected from Narayan. Anubhada means bound. How are they bound? In yoga, meaning bhakti yoga. So they were doing Viras Lila, the pastime of fighting with the Lord, so the Lord could taste Viras, and they were absorbed in anger as a way to stimulate the actuality of the fight. And therefore, Anubhada, they always remain connected to Lord Narayan. These are very secret but open verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. But if you don't understand the context that Bhagavatam is teaching how to love Krishna, you will misunderstand these verses and you'll simply think Jai and Vijay became demons. So I'm going to take a question or two here before we go on, because there's a lot to digest. Anything?
I have a quick question. As I'm looking at the verse, I don't think it really applies, but Bhagavad Gita 4:11, Krishna says, "Is all surrendered to me. I reward them accordingly. Everyone knows my path and all respects." So I always thought that basically everyone followed Krishna to some degree or another. But this verse, because it says it's all surrendered, this verse wouldn't necessarily, or how I say, people who are inimical towards Krishna, they wouldn't fall under the same category as Jai Vijay, correct?
No.
Okay.
Jai and Vijay's situation is unique. The reason is because they are Nitya Siddha. Adi Sridhar Swami, that means the original commentator on Bhagavatam, he has a commentary called Bhavarta Deepika. He mentions that Jai and Vijay never actually come here. They are expansions of Jai and Vijay. The original Jai and Vijay never leave Vaikuntha. So they're expansions of that Jai and Vijay.
Yeah, so I kind of figured I read the verse. But then does that mean that for other people who may be inimical to Krishna, are they still serving Krishna?
Nope.
Okay. So, okay.
Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he gave this. There's two definitions of bhakti. One is called Ati Vyakti Dosh. The word dosh means fault. Ati means excessive. So to give an excessive definition to bhakti, for instance, they give the example that the restless Charan and Mustika made Krishna happy because Krishna was smiling. Were they doing bhakti yoga? No, because they were actually hired by Kamsa to kill Krishna. You understand? So they were not doing bhakti. On the other hand, Krishna was sitting on the lap of Mother Yashoda. And when the milk began to boil over, Mother Yashoda, she took Krishna and put Krishna down on the ground and went to attend to the milk. And Krishna was crying. Why'd you leave me? Why'd you leave me? Oh, mother, why'd you leave me? Is Mother Yashoda doing bhakti or not? Yes, because the mother's duty is called Palin Posan. She has to nourish and care for her child. Therefore, her actions were actually anukul, favorable to Krishna. Because though Krishna wanted to take breast milk continuously, if she had not attended to the milk on the stove, she could not make ghee, yogurt, so many sweets, so many other things. So she put Krishna on the ground. It's described that when Krishna was in the process of killing Putana, Putana has the strength of 10,000 elephants, but she could not remove Krishna. But Mother Yashoda took one hand, sit here down for a second, and went to get the milk. You understand? And Krishna was crying. What could he do? He's just crying. You understand? Of course, later on, I'm not explaining this Leela here, Krishna becomes upset and he goes and breaks a pot of yoga. This leads to Damodar Bandhan Lila, so many different things. You understand? But Mother Yashoda's actions are completely bhakti. So to say her actions because Krishna was crying is not, it's called avyapti dosh. The opposite of ati means, avyapti dosh means to underestimate the meaning of bhakti. So to think, this is why none of our acharyas use Jai and Vijay as examples of bhakti, but only keep it as the secret understanding for advanced devotees studying Bhagavatam in the science of love. You understand? They don't use it as example for the general public. But Krishna hints at it. Where? In Bhagavad Gita. Api chet sudu acharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. Sadur eva hi mantavaya. He tells in Bhagavad Gita that you should see samyak vyasitaho hisaha. That person, samyak vyasito, means who's completely dedicated, situated in my bhakti. He's a kantik in my bhakti. Api chet sudu atro. Even though that person may do sudur achar. The word achar means behavior. Dur means very bad. Means bad. And su means very. So the person does some very bad activity. Do you think the activities of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu was sudur achar? Very bad behavior? Yes. But he's saying, don't think sadur eva hi mantavya. You should think they are actually devotees. Can any ordinary jiva do that? Ordinary jivas doing all kind of negative activities, sinful activities. Can we also consider, oh, they're still great devotees? No. Only those who are ekantically fixed to Bhagavan. You understand? Now, it's not to say some devotee may be victimized by their past or something. That this is also applicable to them, Jiva Goswami says. If they have full faith in Bhagavan, but somehow or another, due to weakness, something happens, you can say, oh, no problem. Right? You should not think it's okay. So that person is taking intoxication or doing this or doing that. You cannot think this is okay. But you can understand the person is trying to do bhakti. And for so many lifetimes, there's been the habituation of so many sinful activities. So they're trying to remove those things. If they have taken full shelter of Krishna, Guru Padasraya, so many things, then you could say, oh, they will quickly become righteous. So the very next verse there tells that very thing. Shipram bhavati dhamatma shasvat shanktiya nagachati. Then he tells, listen, because sometimes people may not take my words, because in the past, Krishna's told lies, different things. So he tells, Kunteye pratijani, yome bhakta pranashiti. Oh, Arjun, you tell the people, a person who's become my ekantik bhakta, my devoted servant. For that person, they will never perish. What to speak of the Nitya Siddhas Jai and Vijay? Draupadi, any quick question? Draupadi, you have to unmute.
Okay, Haribol, Dandavat Pranam. I wanted to ask, when was Kansa or any one of the, the demons, were they aware at all that they were doing any sort of bhakti? Like,
no, they were not doing bhakti. They were not doing bhakti.
They were not doing
Kamsa,
bhakti.
No, Kamsa was completely absorbed that he wanted to kill Krishna because he heard the eighth child will kill him. He realizes his eighth child is Krishna. Now he sent Akrura. Akrura has brought that eighth child to Mathura. So he arranged a big festival centered around a wrestling match. He took the most dangerous wrestlers like Charan, Mustika, Toshal, and others, and he posted them inside with the intention of killing Krishna. So it was completely pratikul.
Little bit. So maybe I don't think I understood clearly. So when you were speaking of seva, service to Krishna.
Yes.
And you were speaking and you were saying in some form, like when you were explaining with Jai and Vijay, and you were explaining this form, even though it is, like one of the highest form, even though it is not it was not like, like prayer or regular bhakti form. It is the form of bhakti.
It's service, yes.
Yeah. So now, so does this like with Ravana and everyone, like the
It
demons,
was service. It was bhakti, but not counts. I understand your point now. So with Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Shishupal, and Dantabhakra, only these six, that was bhakti, seva. Kamsa, no. Jarasandha, no.
I understand. Now I understand.
Yeah, no.
But now what they aware? Like Ravana, was he aware of this, or he was not? Like, was he?
No, because it mentions that they were absorbed. The verse I quoted earlier. Samrama means anger. Sambritya means intensified. Samadhi, they entered the samadhi, the absorption of being opposed to Bhagavan in order to give the pleasure of viras, means fighting.
Okay.
But only these six can be said like that.
Okay. Now understand. Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, this whole conversation starts because Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was holding a big festival called the Rajasuya Yajna Utsav. So it was a festival to celebrate the conquest of Maharaj Yudhisthira. So in these Rajasuya Yajna, somebody has to mute. His way out of fellowship. Okay, somebody has to mute. Somebody unmute it. Okay, so in this Rajasuya Yajna, right, that he's holding, somebody has to be honored as the principal person. That's the first person who's called to be honored by everyone. In that assembly were Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya, so many high class of persons were there, so many rishis, so many munis, all were there in that Rajasuya Yajna. But the general consensus among the devotees was that the first person who should be worshipped was whom? Shri Krishna. So they brought Krishna, and Krishna was the first to be worshipped in the Rajasuya Yajna. One person among the whole assembly complained. He stood up and he said, all of these people here, the elders, the rishis, all like foolish persons. You're going to give honor to someone who we don't even know his background. Some people say he came from a cowherd village. Other people say he was born in Mathura. We don't know whether he's a Kshatriya, he's a cowherd boy. We don't know what his status is. Not only that, we heard that when he was a young boy, he killed a woman. He used to steal from people's houses. And even as he got older, he stole who was potentially going to be my wife, Rukmini, right? So in this way, Shishupal began to make so many insults. Krishna was being very tolerant of these insults because previously, when Shishupal was born, he appeared in the world with 4 arms and an extra eye, a third eye. So his mother was very disturbed and bewildered. Why did this happen? So an aerial voice told her, listen, the person whom holds your child and the 2 arms and the third eye disappears will be the person who will take the life of your child. So during the ceremony to welcome the child, so many different sages, other people, kings came, and they all held Shishupal. But when Krishna held Shishupal, immediately the 2 arms and third eye disappeared. So Shishupal's mother then pleaded with Krishna, please do not kill my son. So Krishna told, listen, I will not kill your son. I will be so tolerant. Even if he offends me 100 times, I will not kill him. So then Shishupal's mother thought, oh, everything is good. How could this boy possibly offer 100 offenses to somebody? Even if he started off with 1, 2, how could he even think of 100 different negative things about a person, right? So his mother was happy. Okay, it means he may live. But at this Rajasuya Yajna, Shishupal began insulting Krishna. 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now he's going for the record. 60, 70, 80. He got to 90. 1, 2, 3. He got to 99. He was still going. So the question first became, why did Krishna tolerate all these insults?
He gave his word?
Huh?
Because he gave
they were actually praises.
Yes. And how could they become praises? Because Dipya Saraswati, Divya Saraswati, who's the goddess of speech, she entered onto the tongue of Shishupal. But why would she enter the tongue of Shishupal?
Because he was repeating pastimes.
Not only that, who is Shishupal? Jai.
Jai and Vijay.
Oh.
Yes, this is where it starts to link up. You understand? So now Shishupal's offenses towards Krishna, are they bhakti yoga or not? I read the verse already.
Yes, they're bhakti.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
Divya Saraswati turned them into praises, and now on the 100th offense, Krishna called the Sudarshan Chakra, took the head of Shishupal off. But
So
what did he do?
Shishupal Jai and Vijay in
No.
one?
Dantavakra was Vijay. They came in pairs. First is Hiranyaksha was Vijay, and Hiranyakasipu was Jai. Kumbhakarna is Vijay, Ravan is Jai. Dantavakra is Vijay, and Shishupal is Jai. So now, after he took the head off, because this was the last birth of Jai and Vijay, immediately the soul that came out of the body of Shishupal entered into the feet of Krishna. So everybody saw this and everybody was amazed. So Narada Muni was present there, and Yudhishthira Maharaj asked him, wait a minute, what is this? We all literally saw that the Atma, the soul of Shishupal, who just offended Krishna 100 times, entered into his feet and became liberated. What happened here? Now, the whole story that I told earlier was told by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira Maharaj. But Yudhishthira Maharaj had some questions. He said, first of all, I'm not accepting the idea that they could have been cursed. Because he says, Kitrasam Kashava Sapo. Sap means a curse. Kitrasa, what kind of curse, Hari Dasa Abhimanashan, can affect the devotees of the Lord? Ashrada Yaeva Ibhavati Hari Ekantikam Bhava. Those who have ekantic bhav towards Krishna, how could a curse affect them? But this is the important part. Ashradeya Eva Bhati. He says, I don't accept it. I don't accept this idea. Now, why is this so important? Because who's speaking to him? Narad Muni. Narad Muni is like guru for the world. But when Maharaj Yudhishthira heard something that was opposidantic, that devotees can fall from the spiritual world, he said, I don't accept it. You understand? Even when Narada Muni is speaking. So therefore, Narad will go back and tell what happened and explain everything as I explained earlier. But Maharaj Yudhishthira was so careful not to accept opposiddhanta. So he said, no, I don't believe it. No jiva can fall from the spiritual world. Why? He mentioned, Deha Indriyeshu Hinam Vaikunta Puravasinam. Because they're Vaikuntavasis. They're eternal residents of the spiritual world. Deha Sambandha Sabhadam. Their bodies are eternally bound to Swarup Shakti, or the spiritual internal energy. So they can't fall from the spiritual world. So these are two very important statements that prove no one falls from the spiritual world to the material world. And the reason this became important is because if anybody listened to the story of Jai and Vijay, they could conclude that you can even fall from Vaikuntha. Therefore, Vyasadeva was very important that he captured the conversation of Nard and Yudhishthira to prove that no, this is not a Siddhanta. You cannot fall. Therefore, he told these cases were exceptional, and he told the whole story that I just told. So this treat is so long, right? I don't think we'll have time to go through everything. So basically, I will tell in synopsis the rest. I am giving Harikatha at the temple here tonight. And again, I'll have a little more time. And I will repeat some of the things for those who didn't come on this call, obviously. But I'll repeat more of the part that I'm about to do in synopsis now. So then, once that they had appeared in this world as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu, you know especially that Hiranyaksha, who was the younger brother of Hiranyakasipu, he was killed by Varahadev. So now Hiranyakasipu became extremely angry. And he was thinking, somehow or another, I will have to get revenge for my brother. When he was in that very angry mood, he decided he was going to go to the forest, perform deep austerities, and get invincibility so he could defeat Lord Narayan. So his guru, Shukracharya, told him, listen, this is not a good time for you to go and practice austerities. To practice austerities, your mind should be peaceful and one-pointed. Right now, you're full of anger. So he didn't listen to his guru. He went to the forest anyway. He sat beneath one tree and he began chanting to invoke Lord Brahma. So he was going to say, Om Namo Brahmanaya Namaha, is what he wanted to say. But the demigods, realizing that this Hiranyakasipu, who had displaced them from the abodes that they lived in, was trying to perform austerities to become more invincible even than his brother, they got into one tree and Indra started reciting. Every time that Hiranyakasipu would say, Om Namo, the bird would say, Narayanaya Namaha. So then Hiranyakasipu looked and he was, what's going on? Then he would recite again, Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha. So then he was, what? So he became so frustrated that he said he gave up and he went back home and he was considering, maybe my Gurudev was right. My mentality was not yet suited to try to perform these austerities. When he came back, his wife, Kayadu, she said, oh my Lord, I was waiting for you to return in order for us to have our child, but you've come back so quickly. Please tell me what happened. Hiranyakasipu said, I don't want to talk about it. So then Kayadu told, listen, dear, you know, between husband and wife, there should be no secrets. So he told, yes, but I don't want to mention what I heard, because he didn't want to mention the name of Lord Narayan. So that time she said, okay, then this is a suitable time, now that you're back, for us to have our child. So then when they came together for union, in the mind of Hiranyakasipu, his anger, his mood for revenge, his attempt to try to get that revenge was all going through his mind. So then Kayadu said, while they were in union, listen, my husband, even while in union, your mind is so distracted. You should release that distract. Tell me what it is that happened. So then he was saying, listen, as I tried to practice, all I could think of was, Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha, Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha, Om Namo Narayanaya. In this way, just like Srila Prabhupada said, you should chant 50 rounds before you have a child, he was over and over chanting, Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha. So then the child that was born to them was a product of that chanting. That child was Sri Prahlad Maharaj. You understand? So now, after the appearance of Prahlad, Hiranyakasipu then left, and while Kayadu was pregnant, the demigods, they came to the abode of Hiranyakasipu, which used to be the kingdom of Indra, and they kidnapped Kayadu, and they were taking her away, and then Narada Muni stopped them, and he told, listen, what are you doing? So then the demigod said, in the womb of this woman is the seed of Hiranyakasipu, the great demon. So we're going to go and we're going to kill this child so that this demon is not born. So then Narada Muni told him, you foolish persons, you cannot kill. This child is a great devotee. You'll never be able to kill him, but you'll incur sin by even attempting to abort the child in the womb of a woman. So in this way, the demigods listened to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni said, give this woman to me. So Narada Muni took her to his ashram, and there in his ashram, he began to recite all the sastras, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. While he was in the womb, Prahlad Maharaj was hearing the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. In the meantime, Hiranyakasipu had gone to do his austerities. Long story short, when Lord Brahma appeared to him, he asked Lord Brahma, I want to be invincible and immortal. Lord Brahma said, bro, I'm not immortal. You understand? So if I'm not immortal, how can I make you immortal? So he says, okay, well, then I don't want to die at night or in the daytime. Brahma said, okay, so be it. I don't want to die on land or in the air. Okay, no problem. I don't want to be inside or outside. No problem. I don't want to be killed by any animal or beast. No problem. Or any other creation made by you. No problem. In this way, he went through a litany of different backdoor routes to try to become immortal. So once all of that happened, Brahma gave his blessing to Tashtu. So now Hiranyakasipu returned, completely thinking himself to be immortal. So in this way, Hiranyakasipu, even when he came back to the palace where Indra used to live, because now he had taken over that palace, he started redecorating. And one of the things which is going to be important in this Leela is he looked, he said, there's so many different things here glorifying Indra. So he told one Stapati, Stapati means like a sculptor, build me a column, build me a pillar. And in that pillar, I want you to put all of my history, the glory of my family, my austerities, all of the things all about me. So that sculptor built a separate column, pillar, which had all the pastimes of Hiranyakasipu in them. And that pillar was very near the throne he used to sit on, which was the throne of Indra. So all the soldiers and all the residents that used to come there, Jai Hiranyakasipu, Jai Hiranyakasipu. You understand? So in the meantime, Kayadu had returned, right? And she did not give birth until her husband returned. So now Prahlad came from the womb. They were raising Prahlad. When Prahlad became of age, around 5 years old, they sent him to a private school, which was the school of the sons of Shukracharya called Sanda and Amarka. So Amarka means darkness, means no light, no knowledge, no intelligence. Sanda means like a bull. So a person who's stubborn and very egotistical. Amarka means who's full of ignorance. They were the teachers in the school, the private school that Prahlad was attending, along with all the other demon children, right? So now, one day, after having attended school for some time, Hiranyakasipu called Sanda and Amarka and said, bring me my child. So Kayadu first dressed Prahlad very nicely, everything, and then they brought Prahlad before his father. Prahlad paid his obeisances, which is proper etiquette, to his father. Then Hiranyakasipu picked Prahlad up and put him on his lap. He smelled his head and was rubbing his head. He said, oh, my son, listen carefully. Tell me the best thing that you have learned. So this is going to be important because he didn't ask, tell me the best thing you learned from Sanda and Amarka. He said, tell me the best thing that you've learned. So Prahlad Maharaj told, Tat Sadhumanyeya Surya Varadehinam, oh, best of the demons. So don't think this is an insult, because for Hiranyakasipu to be called a Varyadehinam, a Surya Varadehinam means the best of the demons. That's a compliment, right? So he tells, Sada Samut Vigna Diyam Asat Grahat. For those persons who have entered Grihastha life only to enjoy and not realize anything about spiritual life, for them, they're always confronted, Sada Samut Vigna, by so many complications of this material world. The best thing for that person to do is, Hitatma Patam Graham Andakupam. You should see that household life is like a deep, dark well for those who have that kind of mentality, not for devotees. For those who have that kind of mentality, it's a deep, dark well. Hitatma Patam, give it up. But what should you do? Vanam Gato Yad Harim Asrayeta. Give up this house and go to the forest and take shelter of Hari. As soon as he said Hari, then the blood pressure of Hiranyakasipu went up tenfold. And Hiranyakasipu said, what? Where did you learn this from? And he looked with blazing eyes at Sanda and Amarka. Sanda and Amarka began to shrink down. He said, we didn't teach him that. That curriculum is not at our school. We didn't teach him like that. So he said, where did you learn this from? So he said, oh, Father, I've learned this where everybody gets their knowledge. So then he said, listen, this is wrong. Don't you ever say these things again. So then he told, listen, take him back to the school and train him properly. Long story short, they went back to the school, Sanda and Amarka. They began to criticize Prahlad. Listen, don't ever speak things that we don't tell you. Listen again carefully to our lessons. They started teaching politics, duplicity, cheating, all things that are crafts of the asuras or demons. Prahlad sat silently. He didn't say a word. Why? Because Antra Nishtakara by Lok Vyahara. I always quote this verse. He was internally absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. And in meanwhile, in one ear and out the other, all the teachings of Sanda and Amarka. Now, they said, we're very proud. He sat, he's absorbed all the lessons. Let us take him back to his father. His father will probably give us a huge reward. So he took them back to Hiranyakasipu. At that time, he went and they said, "Oh, Hiranyakasipu Ji Jaiho, we present you now with your son. He's now learned all his lessons properly." So now again, Hiranyakasipu put Prahlad on his lap and he said, "Oh, my son, recite your lessons." So because internally he was meditating on the teachings of his Guru Dev Nar and he was chanting Hare Krishna, immediately from his mouth came Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsa Prita Vishnu Bhaktaschinnava Lakshana Kriyate Bhagavatyada Tanmanye Idamuttamam. Tanmanye means, oh Father, the thing that I consider I've learned the best is that one should hear about Lord Vishnu. One should chant the names of Lord Vishnu. One should always remember Lord Vishnu. One should offer puja to Vishnu. One should prayers, become his servant. And immediately Hiranyakasipu became furious. Didn't I tell you these things are all wrong? Are you purposely trying to agitate me? Tell me, where do you get the audacity to explain such things to me? Why do you think you have more knowledge than I do? So as Hiranyakasipu was yelling at Prahlad Maharaj very quietly answered him and said, "Oh, Father, I wish that you would also understand this, but Matirna Krishna Parataksvatova, Mito Vipajeta Griya Vratanam. Because you're so absorbed in material life, Matirna Krishna Parataksvatona, neither by your own effort, even if I try to help you, or even others try to help you, Andanta Gobya Vishitam Tamisram, because you've become so accustomed to chewing on material life, Puna Punas Chavrita Chavananam, then you've entered into Andanta Gobya Visitam Tamisram, the deepest level of ignorance." So Hiranyakasipu was thinking, my 5-year-old child is telling me I've entered into the deepest modes of ignorance. So now he pushed Prahlad off of his lap and he told his soldiers, "Listen, this boy has dared to insult me. From where is he getting his power to do this?" And as he was doing that, Prahlad Maharaj continued speaking. "Oh, Father, Natevidu Swartakatim Vishnu, you don't know that even not just for me, but the ultimate goal of your life, the best thing is Lord Vishnu. But rather Durasha Ye, Bahir Antamanina, only because you're so absorbed in your external life, your material life, you cannot see it. Anda Yatta Anda Upaniya Yamanas, and you're asking Sandana Marka, who themselves are blind, and you're blind to help you. Te Pisa Tantra Trayam Uru Dhami Bhara. As a result of one blind man inquiring from other blind men, all of you are becoming bound in ignorance." Hiranyakasipu became furious. So now I'm speeding up the story. So he said, "Oh, what do you think? You think you're better than us?" So Prahlad told, "No, not me, but Naisham Matistavat Urukram Angarim, Lord, who is glorified by the most worshipable hymns. His lotus feet are the greatest thing. Sparshaktya Anato Pagamo Yararta. The only way you can understand that is Mahisham Pararajobhishekam, if you get the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Niskinchananam na Vranita Yadvat. If you get the lotus feet of a pure devotee and take their foot dust, then you can understand what I'm saying, Father." His father said, "That's it. That's a wrap. So I want to kill him." And he ordered the soldiers to kill him. But his minister went to Hiranyakasipu and whispered in his ears, "Listen, if you kill a 5-year-old boy, what will your reputation be? You're so powerful, even the demigods have fled from heaven. But if you turn around and kill a 5-year-old boy, people will think, what kind of powerful man are you? Listen, I have a secret. Don't try to use brute force, use duplicity. Tell Prahlad, don't worry, come to dinner. When you give the dinner, we'll have the chef put virulent poison in the dinner. So it'll appear that he died some other way." So they made arrangements for a big dinner. They made all the favorite foods of Prahlad Maharaj and they put poison in it. But when Prahlad Maharaj went to sit at the table, everybody else was ready to eat and they were waiting for Prahlad to take the poisonous food. And Prahlad said, "Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya," and he began offering his food. After he offered his food, he began to eat. And then he was eating more, and he ate more and more and more and more. And after he finished, he burped. And at that time, everybody was anxiously waiting He should have dropped dead from the very first morsel, but he completely ate everything, but he was still alive. And then when he burped, he said, Hare Krishna, can I be excused? So now Hiranyakasipu became very desperate. And he thought, listen, what kind of powers does this boy have? So then he told, listen, take him and let him go for a walk. And when he goes for a walk, take him to the edge of the mountain and throw him off. If anybody knows, in South India, there's a place called Ahobalam. This is supposed to be the manifestation on this planet of where Hiranyakasipu was staying. It's called Ahobalam. And there's many forms of Narasingadev deities in this place. But it's also a very mountainous region. So it's explained that he told the soldiers to throw Prahlad from the hill. So Prahlad was walking, and as he was walking, he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And when they got to the edge of the mountain, the two soldiers threw him off so they could hear him falling. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And then they heard something hit the bottom. Our job is done. They went back and told Hiranyakasipu, the job is done. We've eradicated that Prahlad from your life. So Hiranyakasipu called for his treasure. Bring something. I want to reward these two soldiers who did such valiant work. As they were preparing to give the soldiers the reward, they heard, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And Prahlad walks by. He pays his obeisances to his father, and he continues walking, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So now Hiranyakasipu has lost his mind in anger. But remember, there's going to be something very important here. I'll mention it coming up soon. He's becoming more and more angry. So he tells the soldiers, kill him, just kill him right here. So all the soldiers begin trying to stab Prahlad with their poles. Nothing happens. They call an elephant to try to stamp on Prahlad Maharaj. It doesn't work. Hiranyakasipu has a sister named Holika. So he called Holika. He told, listen, I'm just completely at my wit's end. She said, oh, brother, don't panic. You know, I've been given a boon. I have a special cloak that I can make fire, but when I cover myself in that cloak, I won't be burned. So then they made a big pyre, big funeral pyre, right? I'm saying it's a funeral pyre for a reason. Holika got on top of the fire and she told, oh, Prahlad, do you remember that your auntie has a special boon? Come and sit with me. No, I have a special cloak. You will not be burned. Now, Prahlad was not foolish. He knew that this boon was only for Holika. But Prahlad went on the fire anyway. And as the fire began to blaze more and more, Holika was covered with that cloth, right? But Prahlad was not supposed to be protected by the cloth. But rather, very soon they began to hear screams. So then Hiranyakasipu sat back on his throne and everyone was looking very intensely. It's finally happening. Holika saved the day. We hear screams coming from the fire. Very quickly after the screams, it all subsided. Then Hiranyakasipu had all of the ashes and logs and everything removed. The fire was extinguished, and they went to look for Prahlad to make sure he had passed. And they heard, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. All the screams were coming from Holika. They found the burnt body of Holika on that pyre. So now the ministers, they approached Hiranyakasipu and said, how could this happen? She actually had a boon that this cape would protect her from any kind of fire. What fire did that cape not protect Holika from? The fire of Vaishnav Aparad. You understand? The fire of offending a Vaishnav can never protect you. If you'll offend a Vaishnav, there's no protection. So now he was completely distraught. So now, having no way to kill him or anything else, then Hiranyakasipu, he said to Sandanamarka, what should I do? They told, listen, give us one more chance. I'm trying to make the story concise. So they took Prahlad back to their school and they told him, listen, we're going to see our father to get advice on how to deal with you. In the meantime, because you're the son of Hiranyakasipu, you could be the head of the class. So when the Sandanamarka went to see their father to get some advice of how to deal with Prahlad, Prahlad started teaching all of his classmates about bhakti. So I'm not going through all the verses because it will take too much time. But every response they gave, Prahlad had an answer for it. Finally, they asked Prahlad, where did you learn all of this? Then Prahlad folded his hands and glorified his Gurudev, Sri Narada Muni. So then when Sandanamaka came back and they realized that all the other boys had also been converted, they also gave up on Prahlad, took him back to Hiranyakasipu until we can't do anything with him. So Hiranyakasipu at that point, his anger had reached its limit. Now remember the verse, Samrama, Sambritya, Anubhari, Samadhi Yog. So now the Samadhi of Hiranyakasipu had reached its level. They asked Prahlad, tell me, where is your God? You say you've always been protected by your God. Where is your God? Prahlad said, oh, Father, God is everywhere. So then Hiranyakasipu pointed to the pillar that he had built. Why is this important? Because he oversaw the building of that pillar. He knew, at least externally, God can't be in that pillar. Because now he was a little afraid that maybe he knows Bhagavan is tricky. Maybe he had been hiding somewhere in the palace. But he said, I personally oversaw the building of this pillar. So I know he's not in this one. So then he said to Prahlad, is he in this pillar? And Prahlad looked at the pillar. And of course, for the pure devotee, Savabhutam Yapa said, Bhagavan Bhavavam Atmanaha. By the nature of their bhav, they see Bhagavan everywhere. So he looked at the pillar and said, yes, Father, he's in that pillar. So he said, are you sure he's in this pillar? So Prahlad said, yes, Father, he's in that pillar. So Hiranyakasipu took his sword in his hand, and with his fist, he smashed the pillar. So there's a very important teaching here. He took so much time to build that pillar as an edifice to his own ego. But now once he smashed his own false egoism, then the Lord could appear. So now Narasingadev roared. And when he roared, Hiranyakasipu's back was towards the pillar because he was so confident that nothing's in that pillar. He smashed the pillar and he was glaring at Prahlad. But all of a sudden he heard the most tremendous roar he'd ever heard. So it mentions Asruta Adbhuta. Shruta means to hear. Adbhut means wonderful. He heard a sound that he had never heard before. So he was completely amazed. And when he turned around, he saw this form, which he had never seen before. This will come up later on when they try to pacify Narasingadev. They asked Lakshmi Devi to go and appease them because none of the demigods, none of the heavenly damsels, nobody could appease him. So they asked Lakshmi, this is your husband, you go talk to him. Lakshmi Devi said, Shruta Drisva Apurvata. I've never seen this person in my life. My husband is very beautiful, has 4 arms, and so I've never seen this person in my life, right? So I'm not going anywhere near him, right? So in this way, they asked Prahlad, and Prahlad went to pacify. But now Hiranyakasipu, he thought, I have the boon from Brahma. Nothing created by Brahma can affect me. The problem is, Narasingadev is manifest from Brahma? No. He's Swayam Bhagavan God. He's Krishna. So he's not produced by Brahma. So Hiranyakasipu, misunderstanding this, started fighting with him. And as they fought, long story short, he ultimately captured Hiranyakasipu, put Hiranyakasipu across his lap. In this way, it was neither daylight or nighttime. It was in the middle, which is why today we are fasting until dusk, right? So it was not day or night. It was not in the air or on the land. It was on the lap of Narasingadev. It was not inside or outside, but it was in the doorway of the palace. And in every way, he kept the promise of Brahma and also the promise of Hiranyakasipu. Now, this is a very deep thing to understand more about the love between Jai and Vijay. This Jai is now become Hiranyakasipu. Did Prahlad need Narasingadev to come to save him?
No.
Because he had full faith that the name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. So all of the different things of attempts to kill Prahlad, he took shelter of Harinam. He did not need Narasingadev to come personally. So many devotees ask, well, wait a minute. Prahlad was the one who said he was in the pillar. So for this reason, Satyam Vidatum Nijabritta Vashitam. Only to prove the statements of a devotee are always true, the Lord appeared in the pillar. But to appear as Narasingadev was not because of Prahlad. Who asked for all the boons that made the Lord appear in that form? Hiranyakasipu. So it wasn't from Brahma, It wasn't from Prahlad. It was from Hiranyakasipu. So therefore, the Lord was tasting Vira Ras with his devotee Jai in the form of Hiranyakasipu, but still to show everyone else that this is my devotee. And like the statement in Bhagavad Gita, Kunte Pratijani Yome Bhakta Pranashati, after he killed Hiranyakasipu, he took the entrails of Hiranyakasipu and he put them on as a garland. Who does that? He garlanded himself with the entrails of Hiranyakasipu. And then he took the heart of Hiranyakasipu. Naka Ankor Upatita Rit Sororuham. Sororuham means a lotus. The characteristic of a lotus is that even though it's in the water, it doesn't become damaged. So even though Hiranyakasipu manifested the form as a demon, the heart of that person, the actual person, was Jai. So in order to demonstrate to the whole world this saying that my devotee never perishes, Lord Narasingadev held the heart up and showed my devotee's heart is always pure, just like the lotus flower. So he sat on the seat, because if your Gurudev will come, of course this is general, or better still, on the altar in your home, can you go and sit on the altar of your house where you have your Thakurji, your deities? Never. You cannot sit on the same place. But here, whenever Narayan used to come to Indra, if Indra would have a sacrifice and Narayan would appear, Indra used to always say, Swagatam, Idam, Asanam. Oh, welcome, Lord Narayan. Please have a seat. And Narayan would say, I don't need to. I have Garuda. We're all good. You understand? So he would never sit on the throne of Indra. But after Hiranyakasipu sat on that throne, he sat on that throne to show, I'm willing to accept the prasad even of my devotees. How much love he had for Jai and Vijay. You understand? So he's showing to the whole world, everybody bear witness. This Hiranyakasipu was doing the highest class of bhakti yoga, which no one can do. You understand? And therefore I'm showing what is my love for Jai and Vijay. You understand? So this Leela is performed to teach what is love. You understand? And by seeing love here in this Leela, when it comes to the Ras Leela of Radha and Krishna, now your heart will be purified and you can truly digest the highest class of love of Radha and Krishna. Jai Shri Narasimha Bhagavan ki Jai. Bhakta Pravaha Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vijay ki Jai. Hari Hari Bol. Anuradha, did you have a question? We'll take a few questions because it ended up getting late.
I actually had 3 questions. The first is, so this Manmana Madhbhakto verse, where basically twice it's being said that to absorb yourself in me. So this would also, I'm assuming, apply to Jay and Vijay, because they were absorbed, though they were absorbed in anger, but still it is applying to them, right?
Yes, because also Jai and Vijay have a Nitya Siddha Bhav. They're eternal associates. So that Bhav cannot be broken. One of the lessons about praying that's taught here is the definition of praying. Does anybody know the first, one of the definitions given by Rupa Goswami of praying? It's important to understand these things to understand what is love. So Rupa Goswami has given some definitions of love. One of those definitions is Savata Donksa Rahitam Yad Api Donksa Karane Yad Bhava Bandhano Prema Parikirtita. By the word praying, we mean to say that thing which can never be broken. Savata Donksa means to break. That thing which can never be broken. More than that, Yadapi Donksa Karane. Because you could say, in general, I will never break my love. But suppose there's a cause for the love to be broken. Like the fact that Jai and Vijay became demons, so-called. Wouldn't that be a cause for love to break? Because now they're opposed to Krishna. They're opposed to Narayan. Of course, in the Leela, they're opposed, not actually. But no, it says no. Actually, the love still didn't break. Rather, they became closer. How do we know they became closer? in the very last birth of Jai and Vijay, who do they become? Jagai and Madai. And in Gaur Leela's Jagai and Madai, they get to taste the intensity of the highest kind of praying. This was not awarded to any of the other doorkeepers of Vaikuntha. You understand? This is how dear Jai and Vijay are. So this proves the definition of love, that it can never be broken, even when there's a cause, but rather the love makes the bond between the lover and the beloved stronger. So love is being taught here. That's why I quoted the first verse of Bhagavatam. The entire Bhagavatam is teaching what is love of God. It's not for any other purpose. But just as you light a fire to cook, and as a byproduct, heat and light may come, many people read Srimad Bhagavatam to learn how to do their duty, to learn what is Atma Tattva, to learn about moksha, so many things. But for those who are paramo nimatsaranam satam, looking for pure devotion, they will learn about love throughout the entire Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you. And the second question is, even after killing Hiranyakashipu, still Narasingadev was very, very angry. So did he exhibit this anger as a result of killing Hiranyakashipu, or was this mostly because of he, the only person who could pacify him was Prahlad Maharaj, so it was an indication for him to pacify.
So there's a secret here. It's a very good question. I'm going to tell the secret here. One is that the Lord came to taste Vira Rasa. So now this anger is a manifestation of an Anubhav, means a symptom of his Viras Ashwadan, his tasting of Viras. Part of that Viras was also the mixture of Krodh or anger. Rudra is a secondary ras. So he's tasting. And Bibats means, or Jigupsa means like disgust. So the scene was very disgusting. There was blood everywhere, soldiers did everywhere. But the Lord was tasting all of this continually. So what made him break his absorption in Viras? The overwhelming nature of Bhakta Vatsala when Prahlad approached him. And then what arose in his heart? What rasa arose in his heart? Do you know? Vatsalya Ras. Vatsalya Ras arose. He is the deity of Vatsalya Ras. Mother Yashoda is the emblem and the perfection of Vatsalya Ras. But the deity of Narasingadev is the deity in Tattva of Vatsalya Ras. Why? Because Vatsalya Ras has qualities. The first two qualities are called Palana and Poshana, protecting and nourishing. The second qualities is Tanda Bhatsana, chastising. So let's go through them. Palan, protecting. The Lord protected both Jai and Vijay by giving them the mercy that they would serve him in Viras, right? He also gave protection to Prahlad Maharaj, even just by Harinam. And Poshan, he nourished the love of all of them. The love of Jai and Vijay being nourished, because he told, by your intensification of anger, you'll have samadhi. The word sambrita means intensification. Your bhakti will intensify by this service. You understand? So Poshan, he's nourishing their bhakti. He nourished the bhakti of Prahlad, as Prahlad witnessed one thing after another. All of those who read this Leela, their bhakti is also nourished. Then, Tanda Bhatsan means to chastise. He chastised the Jai and Vijay, purportedly in Vaikuntha, for not letting the four Kumars in. He indirectly chastised the four Kumars by saying, you think you're superior to my gatekeepers? You understand? He chastised the forms of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, etc., right? So he's chastising not Jai and Vijay here. The mentality of those who are like Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu, Kumbhakarna, and Ravan, Shishupal, Dandabaka. He chastises by teaching through those 6 manifestations. Hiranyaksha means whose eyes, Aksha, are always looking for gold or money. Those who are too absorbed in material life. The result of material life is you want to enjoy. Hiranyakasipu means soft bed. The pinnacle of enjoyment of material world is sex life. So those who are too absorbed in material enjoyment of sex life. Kumbhakarna, the brother of Ram, he used to sleep. He had a benediction. He could sleep ongoing. This is completely the mode of ignorance. You understand? And Ravan was overcome by lust. You understand? Therefore, he even tried to kidnap Sita. Shishupal was absorbed in envy, and Dantavakra was absorbed in kusanga. Kusanga means bad association because he had so much respect and association with Shishupal. But the Lord destroyed all of these things, which are obstacles to bhakti, in the teaching of these 6 manifestations of his servants, Jai and Vijay. But when Prahlad Maharaj approached him, immediately this mood containing these elements, Palan, Poshana, Tandavatsana, Sanka Amangala. Hiranyakasi, Sanka Amangala means the anxiety for the welfare of your child. So before Narasingadev appeared, he was always worrying about Prahlad. So when he appeared in the Bhagavatam, he apologized, I'm sorry I've come late. But Prahlad was absorbed in the Nam, and he saw the Nam is not different. But this is to show the feature called Sanka Amangala, that I was worried about you. You understand? So, Palana, Poshana, Tandavatsana, and Sanka Amangala are the 4 qualities of Vatsalya praying. They're all imbued in the Bhakta Vatsala, the loving care that Narasingadev has towards his devotees. So if you catch love in this Leela, then you'll understand love in Ras Leela of Radha and Krishna. So this is the secret of this Leela. It is to teach what is love. Everybody got something? What this means? The idea that Bhagavatam is nothing but about love. The ultimate love is Radha and Krishna's praying. Then when Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu, he teaches us how to do Radha Krishna savor, how to love and serve the love of Radha and Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, he teaches the science of love through all the different stories, verses, and so many different things. If you lose the connection, you'll end up thinking each story is something different. It's about Dharma, it's about liberation, it's about this and that. The entire Bhagavatam, beginning to end, is only about love. So the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is matched with the first verse. I already described the first verse, Janmadhyasya Yataha. The last verse says, Nama Sankirtana Yasa Sava Papa Pranasanam. So now that you've read the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to obtain what it is I taught in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nama Sankirtana Yasha Sava Papa Pranasanam, take shelter of that form of God who can completely remove all of your sins through Sankirtan. Who is that person? Who is that person that removes all the sins of everyone by Sankirtan?
Gurudev.
Gurudev, but who? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah.
You understand? So then that was the last verse of Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva put his pen down and he himself entered Gaur Leela as Vrindavan Das Thakur to write Chaitanya Bhagavat. You understand? So Bhagavatam is nothing but about love from the beginning to the very end. Jai Shri Narasimha Bhagavan ki Jai, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai, Bhagavad Prema ki Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
All right, we are really late. I'm so sorry.
It's wonderful.
But this is a very important day because, as I mentioned, understanding love here is the genesis or seed of understanding high class of love. If you don't catch love here and you try to understand Ras Leela, Radha Krishna's pastime, then so many things will be off. All right, any last question? All right, Anuradha Didi. Also, before I leave, this is also a very special day, and I'm praying that all the devotees will pray to Sri Narasingadev for our beloved Virginia Nandan Prabhu and family, and also for our Parvati Didi and family. They're both going through some particular things, but I'm positive that Sri Krishna in the form of Narasingadev will give his mercy and will give his blessings to protect them and keep them in his service. So I'm asking all the devotees to do the same, to offer some prayer. I wanted to wait till the end so everybody was here, that all will offer some prayer and benediction to Narasingadev on this special day for both Parvati, her good husband, and for also Virginia Nandan Prabhu and his family. Jai Shri Narasingadev Bhagavan ki Jai.
Bye.
Anuradha Didi, can you sing Narasinga Pranam? Then a little Hare Krishna, then we'll end there.
Okay.
Namaste Narasinghaaya Prahlad Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Ito Nashimha Parato Nashimha Yato Yabitato Nashimha Bahir Nashimha Hirdaye Nashimha Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhut Shringham Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanubringham Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhut Shringham Dalita Hiranya Kashipur Tanubringham Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Dasavatari Jaya Dasavatari Dasavatari Jaya Dasavatari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Guru Deva Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Vargas ki Jai, Jai Shri Narasimha Bhagwan ki Jai, Bhakti Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe. Hari Hari Bol. Everybody fasting today till dusk. Then Ekadasi preparations. So try to follow these things as good as possible. If you have some health issues or something, don't necessarily have to fast until dusk. And if you need to take any kind of medicines, that should be done. even on Ekadasi,
Mhm.
Osadi or medicines are excluded. So if you have to take anything, then you'll do that. All right. Also, I wanted to welcome, I'm not sure he was able to stay for the whole thing, but Mario Prabhu. Bhakta Mario is in Trinidad. He's also a very, very nice devotee. And, very soon he will join our family here by getting initiation and everything. Very sweet devotee. He's been in Trinidad almost since the beginning of that temple there. So you're talking about 30 something years maybe. So just really sweet devotee, and Sadhana Siddha Prabhu, Kapila Dev there, and Agni Prabhu, both Agni Dev, the Kirtaniya, and Agni, the brother of Mother Mandrani, who's here in Alachua. They're also there in Trinidad. And so very, very good group. I definitely have to go there to Trinidad, but I also was very happy to see that he came on. All righty. Dhanavad Pranam. Jai Radhe Radhe.